My fitness didn't run as far away as I thought it did.
If I won't go with you by my side, it's all that I need. Ooh, it's you inside of my head and all of my dreams.
Because it was the North American Championships, the pro field was really, really deep. I think there was like 50-something men and 30-something women. And a lot of the big names of the sport were there. Paula Finley, Tim O'Donnell, Miranda Carfrae, Eric Lagerstrom, Ben Canute, Holly Lawrence. It was a really, Rudy Von Berg, really, really deep field. Some of the best triathletes in the world. And that was really, really cool.
How cool was it to meet Tim and Rennie?
It was neat. It was really neat. I mean, Brenda Carfrae's 3-time Ironman world champion. Tim O'Donnell in 2019, the last time that they had Kona, he got 2nd place. I mean, they're some of the fittest people on the planet. That was really, really cool to get to see some of those guys, because for us, it's like, you know, that's really the only professional sports that we watch or follow. And so, you know, for us, that'd be like, you know, seeing Mark McGuire or Albert Pujols or Brett Favre or any of these other, you know, Tom Brady, these folks that show how long it's been since we've watched traditional sports.
Okay, so talk me through the morning of and then the swim.
We got to the race as soon as transition opened. I like to get there early, make sure things are where they need to be, set out. I think we ended up making a run back to the car like 3 different times before we went on to the swim start, because I forgot a lot of stuff, which is pretty typical. The last time that I did this 70.3, the swim was cut short. It was a different swim course. This time they had not only the full swim, but they had a little bit extra swim. Instead of 1.2 miles, it was 1.4 miles. So we rode the bus up to the swim start. And, you know, the whole morning before any triathlon, but especially an Ironman branded event, the whole morning is all about like standing in line for a porta potty. The water was just on the borderline of being wetsuit legal, but it was indeed wetsuit legal. I decided to wear a wetsuit, and I think it's only the 2nd time I've ever worn that wetsuit. And the first time was in 70.3 Gulf Coast in Panama City. I had a pretty decent swim. My goal for the swim was to follow some fast feet. And I got in the water probably earlier than I should have, and so I was swimming with people that were much faster than me. However, I was able to find 2 different sets of feet. And I swam for just under 30 minutes, I believe. And for probably 10 minutes, I was able to follow 1 set of feet, and then I lost those feet, not because of pace, but because of direction. And so, you know, we're swimming downstream in a river, and, you know, there was an island that you had to go left of at one point. And so the navigation wasn't super easy, and either the feet that I was following weren't going straight or I wasn't going straight. It's likely the latter, but I felt like I was going pretty straight. Well, I lost the first set of feet. It took me a minute or 2 to find another set of feet that I thought that I could stay with, and got on those feet, stayed with them for about 10 minutes, and then lost those feet, and then swam solo into the swim finish. I had an okay transition 1. I could tell it had been a while. Like, that was the first race of the season, because I had my helmet on the ground instead of having my helmet on the handlebars. It took me a moment to get my helmet buckled. But once I got on the bike, you know, things kind of started jamming, and I've only mountain biked really so far this year, and so I did not think that my bike fitness would be there, especially versus the last time I did this race, which was in 2019. In 2019, I had a cracked kneecap, which slowed me a little bit on the bike, but I was much fitter then. I think I averaged like 0.4 miles an hour less in this race, and I think all of that was probably given away just from all the different times that I had to pee on the bike. I think in hindsight that was, you know, just a lack of proper salt loading before the race. And I also, because I was hanging out with my buddies, you know, I stayed up late one night and the day before the race, didn't approach hydration, pre-race hydration, as appropriately as I should have, and so kind of paid for that on the bike and ended up pulling a lot of water off of me. You know, I was able to find a group, you know, with a couple of working triathlete team members and a couple other folks, and we were able to work legally for a good chunk of the race. And then as we got kind of on the back third of the race, we got into some additional riders that didn't want to ride legally and didn't want to work appropriately, and so you know, I got to play the role of Alistair Brownlee in a lot of regards, where you know I was trying to work to organize the group so that everybody stayed legal, but also that everybody did their fair share of work if they were, you know, wanted to indeed slot in with us. And so, you know, like, we're not professionals, but we are at the, you know, the front end of the amateur group. And so, number one, you know, our group, we can't be drafting. I think, you know, we're role models for a lot of the other age groupers. And that's also, you know, it's not good racing. The bike went by pretty quick. It did not feel like 56 miles because I had not ridden 56 miles in quite some time. Coming off the bike, coming out of T2, probably the thing that stood out to me the most was not like the traditional like rerouting of blood to the legs to run like usual, but instead like I wore a sock shoe combo that I hadn't practiced, and I knew that I should have practiced with them, but I felt more confident about the fitment than what I should have felt. I thought, ooh, this might be trouble. I may end up having to stop to take my socks off. The Chattanooga course is pretty brutal in that as soon as you get off the bike, you run uphill for like a couple miles. And the hill was fine, but it was neat. About halfway up that hill, I saw the women's leader, which was Jackie Herring at that point, out of Wisconsin, coming on to her second loop. As we got to the top of that hill, made a left-hand turn, and started getting towards the river, I saw Paula Finlay coming up in second place behind me. And that was really neat, as we had spoken with her the day before the race. And so we're on this like river walk portion of the run course, which was basically a sidewalk, you know, a small greenway. And Paula Finlay closed the gap on me quickly. And she had a moto in front of her with a camera that was filming for Outside TV, and you know, straight Tour de France style. You know, it was really cool. And she comes up on me, and I'm trying to, you know, communicate to her that seemingly to me she was really working to bring Jackie Herring back. But I think you know, at the end of it all, she was unable to bring Jackie Herring back. Jackie was just really running very strong that day. But it was cool to run next to a Canadian Olympian for a short period of time in Paula Finlay. And then she ended up blowing the doors off of me. I think she was probably riding low sixes per mile. At that time, I think I was running kind of mid to high sixes. So again, I mean, it was really cool to see a celebrity of the sport, if you will, but also see, you know, what some of these pros are capable of in running those types of speeds after a hard bike. I expected, again, my training going into this race was pretty pathetic, and so I expected to struggle more than I did. You know, I think the heat held me back in just a very small way. You know, maybe I would have liked to have and could have run maybe 15 seconds per mile faster over the course, but every time I think I, you know, would get closer to that kind of pace, my heart rate would get a little bit crazy, and so I had to back it down just a hair because of the heat. But from a nutrition standpoint, like, I think I felt fine. From a muscle fatigue standpoint, I felt fine. I wasn't at risk for cramps or anything like that. Wouldn't say that I coasted to the finish line, because, you know, that wasn't the case, but I didn't have to kill myself to get to the finish line. Yeah, so I got my slot to 70.3 Worlds in St. George this year. I did not anticipate that, especially for where my fitness was and having aged up to the 35 to 39 age group this year, which is a much deeper field of competition. So that was cool. And the slot rolled down to 17th. So that was really surprising. So this October is going to be quite busy. The summer is going to be busy as well, getting ready for the 2 World Championships. So we'll have Kona for the Ironman World Championship on October 8th. And then we'll have 70.3 World Championships in St. George at the end of October, October 29th, I believe it is. So that's going to be neat. I've never done a World Championship before. I've qualified for the 70.3 Worlds before and just decided not to do it. But, you know, after watching the St. George course, especially the 70.3 course, so many times over the last couple of years, given that that's kind of where all of the post-COVID racing has happened, you know, I've really become interested in that course. And it's a hilly one and it's a hot one, which suits my strength. It's high likelihood that it'll be wetsuit legal for 70.3 Worlds, but nonetheless, it's going to be a crazy summer getting in shape for those 2 races. And then it's going to be a crazy October of travel and going hard. And I'm utilizing Tri-Bike Transport to fly my bike, or to actually transport my bike. They ship it through a shipping container via boat and over the roads instead of flying it. But so I'm using Tri-Bike Transport to get my bike to Hawaii, and then they're sending it from Hawaii to California, where it'll sit in storage for a short period of time, and then it'll go to St. George for the World Champs. So I'll be without my tri-bike for like 2 months, which is going to be tricky to kind of figure out how do I build and maintain fitness without that bike. But I've got some time to figure that out. I've got to get fit first, which is probably the number 1 piece to the equation. I don't have any giant hopes or aspirations on how I'm going to, or how I hope to perform in Hawaii or in St. George. But I am excited to have a year full of World Championships, and specifically a month of World Championships, both at the Ironman distance and the 70.3 distance. Yeah, so this summer is going to be a busy one of training. Lots of long rides, lots of long runs, and unfortunately some swims here and there. And it's a bummer because, you know, Allie's not racing anymore this year. I really would have enjoyed having her on a lot of those long workouts. But yeah, her season is over for now. So that's still developing, so stay tuned. Check out future episodes so that you can kind of see what's going on there and see how the journey tracks to the Ironman World Championship and the 70.3 World Championships.